I am not coming back. I have found someone better, and your things are already sitting in storage. My name is Colton Redhawk. I am 58 years old, and I was standing in the kitchen of our Des Moines condo at 11:42 p.m. on a Thursday night when I read that message. My wife, Maya, was supposed to be on day 4 of a girls' trip out in Palm Springs. Along with the text, she had attached a screenshot, a bank transfer. $118,000 moved straight out of our joint account and into her personal one. I placed my phone down on the counter, picked up my coffee, and finished it slowly. 15 years of marriage undone by 2 short sentences and a picture of a transaction. I should have seen it coming. The signs had been there for months. Weekend trips that stretched longer and longer. New clothes she would buy, but never wear around me. Phone calls that would end the second I walked into the room. I saw it all. I see everything. Noticing the cracks and inconsistencies is part of who I am. I make my living as a forensic accountant. But still, I said nothing. Maybe that was my mistake right there. Or maybe it started earlier, marrying someone who thought the work I did was just dry paperwork and numbers without any real value. I opened my laptop, the one she never knew about, and logged into an email address she had no idea existed. 3 security alerts waited for me. Notifications from my bank's warning that someone had tried to reset my account passwords. She was not just walking away, she was covering her tracks. In a way, I respected her thoroughness. I picked up my phone again and sent her 2 simple words, "Good luck." Then I called my brother, Derek. "You remember that plan we talked about 5 years ago?" I asked as soon as he picked up. "Yeah," he said cautiously. "Is it time?" "It is," I answered. She just made her move. I ended the call and looked over at the wedding photo still hanging on the wall. Funny, it was the last picture of the 2 of us left in the whole place. I should have noticed that, too. I had met Maya Whitefeather at a University of Iowa alumni event. I was 39 back then, freshly divorced from a short and messy first marriage, and all my focus was locked onto building up my forensic accounting business. Maya was 35, lively, full of dreams, and completely disinterested in my work. "I do not need to know the details," she would say with a laugh whenever I talked about my cases. "As long as we live comfortably, I am happy." We dated for about a year before we got married. I helped her set up her own yoga studio, paying for the entire thing out of my savings. When she wanted a bigger house in a fancier part of town, I signed the check. When she wanted new luxury cars or tropical vacations or a second studio for her brand, I nodded and found a way. I remembered what my father once told me, years ago when we were fixing up his old deck. He paused, hammer in hand, and said, "Son, a woman who spends a man's money ought to respect the work that earned it. Make sure yours does." I laughed it off back then, but the word stayed with me. Around year 6 of our marriage, I began shifting things around quietly, not illegally, just smart. I set up a few limited liability companies, built up 2 trusts, moved some investments into cryptocurrency, and placed certain assets in offshore accounts for international clients. Maya knew about our regular checking and savings. That was all she needed to know. Meanwhile, her life was changing. She started getting deep into the world of fitness influencers. Her social media following grew fast. At first, it was little weekend retreats, then whole weeks spent at wellness conferences. "You would hate it," she told me. "All green smoothies and yoga talk." Last Christmas, she forgot my birthday altogether. When I pointed it out the next day, she ran out and bought me a high-end watch. "I have just been so stressed about expanding the studio," she said, handing it to me with a kiss on the cheek. That night, after she went to bed, I finalized the last piece of my contingency plan. I had seen all the warning signs. I had just not wanted to believe them. The morning after she sent her text, I brewed myself a pot of coffee like I always did. Some routines die hard, even when your life just got flipped upside down. I logged into the secure system I had built for my business and personal finances. With just a few keystrokes, I kicked off the emergency protocol Derek and I had prepared years ago. First thing, I froze all joint accounts and suspended all credit cards. Next, I filed a fraud report against the $118,000 withdrawal, tapping old contacts at the bank to move things along fast. I sent everything over to my lawyer. The fraud reports, the account freezes, and my formal request to file divorce papers immediately. Finally, I called my mother. "Maya left," I said simply. "Took a big chunk of money and moved my stuff out while pretending she was on vacation." She was quiet for a while. I am sorry, Colton, she said at last. But honestly, I am not surprised. What are you going to do now? I looked out across the lake. Protect what is mine, I said. Less than an hour later, my phone buzzed. Maya calling. I let it ring. She called again. And again. 10 times before she finally gave up and sent a text. What did you do? My money is gone, and none of my cards are working. I did not bother to answer. Instead, I drove over to the storage facility she had listed in her message. Using the code she provided, I found 2 small boxes inside. A few of my shirts, a pair of shoes, and my laptop. The rest, my father's old tools, my photo albums, the family keepsakes, were nowhere to be seen. That was the moment when something inside me snapped. This was not just about money anymore. She had tried to wipe me out of my own life like I was nothing. I sat in a coffee shop, opened my laptop, and started digging. Thanks to my investigator licenses, I had access to financial records that most people could only dream of. I looked up Talon Graystar, the fitness guru Maya had been tagging in all her pictures lately. The someone better she had left me for. What I found made me shake my head. His gym business was drowning in debt. 3 maxed-out business cards, overdue leases, a shiny new car loan that Maya had co-signed for just 2 months ago. I closed the laptop. I knew exactly what I needed to do now. And for the first time in a long time, I was thinking clearly. No anger. No hurt. Just pure focus. She stood there smiling. The same practiced smile I had seen 100 times over the years whenever she needed something from me. Colton, she said, raising her voice loud enough for the whole lobby to hear. There has been a big misunderstanding with the bank. All our accounts are locked up. I kept my voice low and calm. Not a misunderstanding, Maya. You moved money without permission. The bank flagged it as fraud. Her smile wavered for the first time. It was our joint account, she said, her voice tightening. I am your wife. You were, I said evenly. Now you are my soon-to-be ex-wife. You emptied our savings and told me you had moved out to be with someone else. That, Maya, is what lawyers call financial misconduct. She stepped closer, lowering her voice to a sharp whisper. You cannot do this to me. I have already signed the lease on a new place. I have made commitments with Talon Graystar. I know, I said, keeping my voice flat. I know exactly what kind of commitments you made. All the color drained from her face. You are spying on me? Not spying, I said calmly. Just protecting myself against fraud. Her expression twisted into anger. I will fight you on this, she spat. I am entitled to half of everything. I met her gaze steadily. Half of what you know about. Sure, but you seem to be under the wrong impression about how much there really is. She blinked, confused. What are you talking about? You will find out, I said, turning away. When we start discovery. I walked back to my office without another word, feeling more certain than ever I was doing the right thing. That afternoon, an email popped up from a law firm I had never heard of, Maya's new lawyer. A lot of tough talk in it. Demands for immediate access to all financial records, and thinly veiled threats about exposing accounting irregularities if I did not comply. It was a rookie move. I forwarded it straight to my attorney, adding just 4 words, proceed as we planned. By that evening, Maya had rallied a few old friends to her side. My phone blew up with messages. Accusations of being heartless. Claims that I was trying to control her and ruin her future. Funny thing was, not a single one of them asked about the money she had stolen. Not one of them asked where she had been or who she had run off with. I said nothing back. Instead, I drove to the community center gym I had gone to for years. Not her fancy studio, not Talon's glossy showroom gym. Just the old building where nobody cared what label was on your shorts. I lifted until my muscles burned, then went back to my hotel and slept like a stone. The trap was almost ready, and it was not closing around me. 3 days later, my attorney called with an update. We found something, she said, her voice tinged with excitement. Go on, I said, already knowing where this was headed. For over a year, Maya has been moving small sums out of your joint accounts. First a few $100s at a time, then a few thousand. And where was it going? I asked, though I could guess. Multiple accounts. Some into her personal savings. Most into an LLC owned by Talon Graystar. Altogether, nearly $80,000. And she used our marital funds to do it. Yes. Which means we can amend the divorce filing to include financial misconduct and infidelity. I thanked her and hung up. It was not surprising. But having hard proof still felt like someone had socked me in the stomach. Maya had not just betrayed me. She had been plotting her escape for over a year, and she had used my money to bankroll her new life. That evening, a text came in from an unknown number. Back off. Maya deserves better. Do not make this messier than it has to be. Talon Greystar, showing his hand. Interesting. The next morning, I pulled into my brother Derek's driveway. He met me at the door, coffee in hand. All right, he said. Tell me what you need. I want everything you can find on Greystar Fitness LLC. Financials, leases, loan records, anything public, I said. Derek raised an eyebrow. Everything by the book, right? Of course, I said. We are just connecting dots, faster and better than most. Within 3 hours, we had everything we needed. Turns out Talon was not just in debt, he was drowning. 3 business credit cards at their limits. A gym lease he could not afford. Equipment loans backed by shaky collateral. Promotional events paid with borrowed money. And a lot of it funded by Maya's stolen cash. But Derek found something even more important. He spun his laptop around for me to see. Talon applied for a new small business loan 4 months ago, Derek said. Used gym equipment as collateral. Pretty normal, I said. Sure, Derek agreed. Except look who co-signed it. I leaned closer. There it was, Maya's signature. She co-signed before she left you, Derek said. And the loan paperwork lists her marital status as married, meaning your assets helped secure the loan. I stared at the screen. My house, my accounts, my retirement savings, all potentially on the hook, I said. And it gets better, Derek added grimly. She also co-signed on 3 business credit cards, a new car lease, and the lease for a bigger gym space, all backed by marital assets. I stood up and looked out the window, trying to steady my breathing. Kids played in the yard across the street, laughing, running barefoot through the grass. They had no idea how cruel the adult world could be. She does not know what she has done, I said finally. And neither does he. The next morning, I met with my attorney. I laid out everything Derek and I had uncovered. I want everything frozen, I said, before they realize the trap they have walked into. She reviewed the documents carefully, her face hardening. We will file for emergency asset protection today, she said. The loan fraud alone is enough. That afternoon, I drove straight to Greystar Fitness. The place was gleaming and new, motivational slogans on the walls, smiling faces everywhere. Talon saw me immediately. He jogged over, all bright teeth and fake tan, extending a hand. You must be Colton, he said, all charm. Maya has told me so much about you. I bet she has, I said, ignoring his hand. We need to talk. Now. Privately. His smile wavered, but he nodded and led me to a glass-walled office at the back of the gym. He closed the door behind us. What can I do for you? He asked, trying to stay upbeat. I sat down and looked him straight in the eye. I am here to explain exactly how bad you have screwed up. I set a folder down on Talon's sleek glass desk. Here is every piece of paperwork tying you to Maya, I said evenly. Loans, credit cards, leases, all co-signed using my marital assets as collateral. He picked it up like it might bite him. I do not understand, he muttered. It is simple, I said. Maya used our marriage to back your business debts. Now that we are getting divorced, those guarantees are no longer valid. As he flipped through the pages, the color drained from his tanned face. But these are legitimate deals between me and Maya, he said weakly. Maybe so. But the banks approved them based on the assets and income from our marriage. Assets Maya no longer has any claim to. Talon closed the folder carefully. What do you want from me? He asked, his voice tight. Nothing, I said, standing up. I just thought you should know what is coming. The banks are going to call those loans due. And they will be coming for you first. His jaw tightened. Maya said you were rich, he said, voice rising. She said you could afford this. That money would not be a problem for you. Money was never the problem, I said, stepping toward the door. It was trust. I paused with my hand on the doorframe. One more thing. When Maya moved out, she took some things that matter to me. Family photographs, my father's watch, things that cannot be replaced with money. He studied me for a long second. I will see what I can do, he said finally. I nodded once and left without another word. The next afternoon, a courier knocked on my hotel door. A plain cardboard box sat at my feet. Inside were the missing photos, my father's old watch, and a few other keepsakes Maya had taken. No note, No apology. Just the items, returned. That same day, my attorney called. Good news, she said. The court approved the emergency asset freeze. Everything will stay locked down until the divorce is finalized. I thanked her, then logged into my private financial system to review the alerts. In just 24 hours, Maya had tried to access the frozen accounts 17 times. She had also attempted to open a new line of credit against our home. All of it denied. When my phone rang again and her name lit up the screen, I answered. Her voice shook with rage. What did you do? She snapped. The banks called in Trey's loans. They are repossessing the gym equipment tomorrow. That is unfortunate, I said, keeping my voice calm. You are vindictive, Colton, she hissed. You are ruining him just to get back at me. I have not ruined anything, I said evenly. You used our marriage to guarantee loans for someone else without my permission. That is fraud. I am just protecting myself. Her voice shifted, going softer, sweeter. We can still work this out, she said. Come home. We can talk. Fix this. 15 years together, and she still thought she could bait the hook and I would bite. There is nothing left to fix, Maya, I said. The divorce moves forward, and Trey will have to learn a hard lesson about making deals he does not understand. I ended the call and blocked her number for good. That night, I slept deeper than I had in years. 3 weeks later, I sat in a downtown conference room, waiting for our court-ordered mediation to begin. Maya and her attorney arrived 5 minutes late. She looked exhausted, hidden poorly behind expensive makeup and a designer suit that suddenly seemed too big for her. Her lawyer opened the meeting. My client is prepared to be reasonable, he said smoothly, despite the unnecessarily aggressive tactics Mr. Kessler's side has employed. My attorney smiled politely. That is excellent news, she said, because there has been a development you should be aware of. She slid a thick document across the table. The bank has completed its investigation into the fraudulent loan activity. They found that Maya forged Colton's signature on several financial documents, securing loans with marital assets without his knowledge. Maya's lawyer skimmed the document. The blood drained from his face. We will need time to review this, he said, voice cracking a little. Of course, my attorney replied smoothly. But you should know the bank has already referred the case to the district attorney. Criminal charges for loan fraud are pending. Maya turned to stare at me, her eyes wide with disbelief. Criminal charges? Colton, you cannot do this to me. I did not press the charges, I said quietly. The bank did. That is what happens when you forge someone's name and misuse financial documents. Her lawyer whispered frantically in her ear. Maya shook her head sharply, refusing whatever advice he offered. If Ms. Bowman agrees to our settlement today, my attorney continued, Mr. Kessler is willing to issue a statement to the authorities acknowledging her cooperation, which might lessen the criminal penalties. I watched as Maya's world, built on lies and borrowed money, crumbled around her. She had expected me to fight for her, to plead for her return. She had not expected consequences. The settlement is generous, I said quietly. You keep your yoga studio. You keep your personal belongings and your car. You waive all claims to spousal support. And you accept full responsibility for the debts tied to the fraud. Her lips trembled. And Trey, she whispered. My attorney leaned forward. Mr. Graystar's debts are his alone. I imagine the banks will be visiting him very soon. Without another word, Maya grabbed the pen and signed the agreement. As we gathered our things to leave, she caught my arm. I never thought you would stand up to me like this, she said, her voice small. You always just went along with everything. I looked at her, not with anger, not with pity, but with finality. That, I said, was my choice. Then I walked out, never looking back. Just like it had been her choice, it was mine to walk away. And I did, without looking back. A month later, I moved out of that hotel and into a small house on the east side of Des Moines. It was nothing special, a sturdy old craftsman home with a sagging porch and hardwood floors that needed refinishing. Exactly the kind of project I needed. Something to keep my hands working and my mind steady during the long evenings. Through the grapevine, I heard Maya had packed up and moved to Colorado. Her social media showed sweeping mountain views and a steady stream of motivational quotes about new beginnings and healing journeys. I doubted she ever mentioned what really happened. Most folks do not broadcast their failures. They just crop them out of the picture and move on. Talon's gym, I heard, had been bought out by a big national fitness chain. He had packed his things and headed to Miami to try his luck down there, expanding his brand, as he called it. Neither he nor Maya ever reached out again, and that was just fine by me. One Saturday afternoon, my brother, Jason, came by to help me hang new kitchen cabinets. We worked side by side, measuring and leveling without much talk, the way brothers do. At one point, he wiped sawdust off his hands and asked, "Any word from Maya?" I tightened a hinge and shook my head. "Nope," I said, "and I do not expect there will be." "You know," Jason said, "you could have taken her for a whole lot more. The fraud alone would have wrecked her." I shrugged and checked the level on the next cabinet. "What would be the point?" I said. "She is not my problem anymore." We went back to working in silence. The steady rhythm of measuring, sawing, and mounting eased my mind in a way that no amount of talking ever could. After a while, I said, "I am thinking about heading north for a bit. Maybe drive up to Minnesota. Spend some time at Dad's old cabin. Do a little fishing." Jason smiled a little. "Dad would have liked that," he said. "You have not been up there since the funeral." "I know," I said. "Feels like it is time." That evening, after Jason left, I sat out on my back porch with a glass of bourbon in my hand. The sun was setting slow and red behind the rooftops. A dog barked a few houses down. Somewhere, a child laughed. This neighborhood was not fancy. It was not polished or exclusive, but it felt real. And for the first time in a long while, I felt real, too. I thought about the past 15 years, about the life I had built, piece by piece, and how I had let someone else steer it off course, about all the signs I had seen and ignored, about how, in the end, when everything came crashing down, I had been ready, because deep down, I had always known this day would come. I did not feel like I had won. I did not feel like I had gotten revenge. I just felt free. The next morning, I called the office and told Valerie I would be taking a couple of weeks off. No emergencies. No calls. Just time. I packed up my old pickup truck with some clothes, a couple of fishing rods, and enough supplies to last. I locked up the house, checked the doors twice out of habit, and pointed the truck north. No itinerary. No timetable. Just the open road, the whisper of tires on asphalt, and a wide sky stretching out ahead. For the first time in years, there were no debts to settle, no hidden resentments to carry. Just me, moving forward. Exactly where I needed to be.